I struggled, man. So Carson, there's been a big casting announcement recently. I don't
Oh
know if you've
no.
seen this, but it's actually probably one of I don't use the word, well, I do use the word perfect a lot, but I think it is almost perfect casting announcement. And that is Sebastian Stan as Two-Face in the Batman 2.
Was that really announced I feel like that was announced like 2 weeks ago and I just forgot about it.
It was rumored like 2 weeks ago, but then if I'm not mistaken, it was like officially announced this past week. Where like
Okay.
casting rumors were spiraling. People were like, "Oh, I've heard that Sebastian Stan might be playing Two Face." Like I heard some people talking about it on the like down low, and then like this week it was like made official that Sebastian Stan is going to be Two Face in the
Okay.
Batman.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I heard rumors about ScarJo as well, but I don't think that got confirmed. I think she's still in talks, or maybe she's
Yeah, I
confirmed. I
haven't
don't
seen
know.
any official for that.
Um,
Yeah.
but Stan, no, I actually texted my a mutual friend of ours when that got announced because I was really excited about Sebastian Stan as Two Face. I think that's perfect casting. Look, I love the Two Face from The Dark Knight. I think that I don't know how to say his Aaron Eckhart. I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah, about right, yeah.
He's does an incredible job in that film. He's probably even though I love Sebastian Stan, he's the best Two Face. And obviously, we don't talk about Tommy Lee Jones's attempt at Two Face. You know, I think Sebastian
Keyword
Stan is a good
attempt.
choice. I think Sebastian Stan is probably the best choice for that role. I think he fits
Yeah.
it wonderfully. Just everything that we've seen him do. Um, I think we know, especially because there's a film I had told you to watch called Fresh. In that movie, he goes a little bit insane, and I think he can pull off the insanity that is Two Face. Just with that, Two Face isn't obviously like the Joker insane. He's more of a
Yeah.
calculated villain, but I think that Stan can play that very well. This is also, we don't know if this is Harvey Dent prior to Two Face or if he's strictly Harvey Dent. Like they didn't officially say Two Face is
Yeah.
going to be in this movie yet or not.
Well, because the last time we saw Two-Face in live action, we saw him we saw him as Harvey Dent, and then we saw the transformation into Two-Face, and then we got
Yeah,
to see him as Two-Face. And
right.
I'd be curious to see if they went the same route again, if they're gonna go pre-established. Here's the thing, like, we don't know how many of the Batman movies we're going to get. This could be the last one, and if it is, then obviously he needs to be Two-Face. But
Right.
if this isn't the last one and we're going to get the Batman 3, then hypothetically he could be Harvey Dent for the entirety of this movie. End of the movie turns into Two-Face, and that sets him up to be the main villain of 3. I don't think
Yeah.
they're going to go that route, but it would be interesting because that would be a longer stint of time as seeing him as Harvey Dent, the
Yeah.
character, to kind of grow sympathetic to him, because Harvey Dent as a person isn't a terrible guy.
No.
He isn't. He's not like Jesus Christ, but he's not a terrible person. And then
Right.
it's the incident that turns him into Two-Face that kind of gets him a lot more jaded. And again, a big part of Two-Face is, I don't want to call him bipolar, but it kind of is bipolar. He flips the burnt coin, and whatever side it lands on is whatever side he makes the decision from.
Sure.
It's either
Sure.
Harvey Dent making the good decision or Two-Face making the other decision. And I think that if you have a long period of time with Harvey Dent, it'll make Two-Face more of a compelling villain, especially for people who haven't seen like the Two-Face before.
Yeah, and look, I don't think the Batman's ending with two movies. I think they're gonna draw it out for as long as they can. Well, I mean, they're clearly going younger with Batman for that reason, especially with
Yeah.
from what I've heard, the story that they want to tell with the Batman 2 is the Court of Owls story, which I know nothing about. I know it's a big popular story. I don't know
Mhm.
what Two Face's involvement is in that, or if it's just Harvey Dent. I don't know. But that's what I've heard is like they want to tell the Court of Owls story. I really want this has nothing to do with the Two-Face announcement. This is more so what I wanted for a Batman sequel. I really wanted a story about Mr. Freeze. I've been wanting to see a really good adaptation of Mr. Freeze besides the freaking Arkham games. Give me
Yeah.
anything, because Mr. Freeze in that game is so cool. And
You
he's
didn't
such an
like Arnold
interesting,
Was it Arnold Schwarzenegger and the
and his cheesy, or should I say freezy puns.
Yep.
Yeah, his performance was definitely chilling to say the least. Uh yeah, so look, I enjoy it. Um, it's something that I want. I don't think we're gonna get it, which I'm really sad about because I really wanted it this time around, but we'll probably get it later.
Well,
But as far as Dent goes, that's still a huge step in the right direction.
yeah.
Um,
And it is always interesting because, like, obviously we know Sebastian Stan is more than just Bucky from Marvel. He's a prolific actor who has a lot of range that he has shown, both comedic. We know he can play a superhero. We know he can play someone crazy. I
sure,
think it'll be interesting to see him step into kind of both roles. I guess he gets to be the again, Harvey Dent's not like altruistic necessarily, but like
sure,
getting to stretch his acting chops a lot more than I've seen him in even previous roles where he has been
sure,
more than just Bucky Barnes.
right, and yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's good casting. I think that it's a logical choice. Now, if the rumors are true about ScarJo, where does ScarJo fall in line with this?
Catwoman, not like maybe
Well, we
who's
already have Catwoman, because Zoe Kravitz is Catwoman. That is one thing that we were
oh,
told is it was confirmed Catwoman's not going to be in this movie. So
okay.
that's one thing we do know. Um,
This is gonna make the internet hate me, and I'm gonna watch it. I know I haven't seen the Batman still. It is one of my biggest gripes and biggest misses in superheroes. But what I will say is I do know that a very core part of Harvey Dent's story has to do with a woman that he is in love with that because if you remember in the Christopher Nolan rendition of Two-Face, that whole
right.
story could ScarJo play? I'm blanking on her name, but that character, she's more of a minor role, so I don't know why you would hire ScarJo for that.
The most infamous name in movie history, you can't remember it? Rachel.
There, yeah,
Rachel.
Rachel. Do you
So
think that ScarJo would
no,
play?
I don't think Rachel was even in the comics. I don't think that was I think that was just a Nolan
I
character, and then
think she
well,
was,
no,
but
I
I
think that there
could
was
be
a
wrong.
woman in Harvey Dent's life that I think
Yeah.
that part's that true, but I don't think it was Rachel. At
Okay,
least as
that's
far as I
fair.
know, I'm pretty sure
No, I'm
Rachel was
I'm
just a
like
character that
99
was
I'm not as read up on Two-Face comics as I want to be, but I'm pretty sure there is, but you're right, it might not be Rachel. It might be
I think that
different.
was just a
But
choice to
I
make it
do
work
feel
within Nolan's world. So
and this is always where it gets complicated because when you hire a big name actor, you typically want to go with a bigger role. You don't want to just shove them into 5 minutes of a movie. If you're going to hire Scarlett Johansson, you want her to be in the movie. That's what you're
right.
advertising, unless you're Karate Kid Legends, where you hire big name actors to be in the movie for 30 seconds. Jackie
Yeah,
Chan. Um,
or you're wake up dead man and you say, "Hey, you like Jeffrey Wright? Here's Jeffrey Wright for like 2 minutes,
yeah.
and that's it."
But I
Uh,
don't feel like the Batman's gonna do that with ScarJo, so they would need to give her I guess but would ScarJo want to sign on for multiple movies if we're talking about the Batman 2, the Batman 3,
it
Batman
depends.
5,
It
like
depends on the role that she plays, and I think I don't think she can do Ivy, but I also don't think that role fits her either.
no,
Um,
I don't see
She can't do Harley because I don't think that. Here's the thing: as much as I want to see new Harley, I think Margot Robbie still is the most perfect Harley Quinn casting. I think it's gonna be really hard to replace her in that role because that was just so well done. And I also don't think they want to get rid of her either. Like they just announced the other day, this was another thing that was DC announced that they said was for sure. Hey, Blue Beetle is coming back to the universe. Same actor, same character. That movie is a part of the new universe. Like that character is coming back.
yeah.
They could easily have the same thing for Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, even though we haven't seen her in literally 5 years since the Suicide Squad.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean, I think that and this is another one of those that to me is nearly a perfect casting. I like I never saw Joker Folie à but I know Lady Gaga kind of fumbled the performance from what I've heard. I refuse to see it because I heard it was so bad, and The Joker is genuinely a phenomenal movie. I love that movie, and I didn't want to ruin my love for The Joker with watching Folie à but like when they announced Lady Gaga as casting for Harley Quinn, I was like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Actually, no, it wasn't because I've seen Lady Gaga do wonderful things. I thought it was a smart casting, especially when you take. Here's the thing. Sorry, now we're ranting. Now you made me mad because you brought up this movie, Joker
Sorry.
Polly Ado. Folly of Doo-Doo, it is dog shit. It is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. I called Brandon after I saw the movie saying it is by far the most disappointing film I've ever seen in my entire life. The Joker from 2019 is a phenomenal film, start to finish. People make the comparisons to Taxi Driver. Sure. I don't care. I think it's great. It's a great look. It's a great twist on the Joker. It's a more realistic take. They have a great idea for a sequel. Genuinely, they do. I'm not against the musical aspect if you're telling it from Arthur's mind. The Joker sequel, for whatever reason, isn't a film. It has no through line, has no plot. It's all about a sequence of events that just happen, and you have one scene that's actually good. And unfortunately, that scene comes off as garbage because your entire movie's stupid.
Yeah, that text from Carson, when I spoke with him after he saw Joker Folly Do, cemented in me that I'm like, I love the Joker so much. Like Carson knows, like we saw that movie together. It was actually what the first, if not one of the first rated R movie to age ourselves, one of the first rated R movies that we saw together in theaters.
Yeah.
Because that was when you finally had turned 18, since we're not that far off in age, but
No.
I remember it was a big event. We went with another mutual friend who also had recently turned 18, and I love that movie. I remember talking about it. My dad hated the movie. I don't know if you remember that. My dad hated that
No, I
movie.
remember that. I
But
think we're talking about a different thing for our cold open now. We're talking about Joker,
well, look,
but
we're just here to chat, dude. Okay, we only got one movie to talk about today, even
the,
though I got a lot to say about it. But
we'll talk about how we got boned in the theaters in a minute. I'm still finishing my rant here. Look, it's just such a disappointment, and it honestly makes me go, why did we have the sequel? Why did we need this? I actually was on this. I even saw the trailer. Like the trailer sold me. The trailers were actually so darn appealing. I was like, that actually works. This looks great. The acting looks great. The cinematography looks great, and all of it was horrible. It was so bad.
I
Um,
think
it was
one of
so
the
bad that they released it on streaming 4 weeks after the movie released in theaters. That's how bad it was.
I think one of the reasons why, because I said like, oh, Lady Gaga, that was a bad casting. My reason why I say that is because Harley Quinn to me is a very nuanced character. There's a
Sure,
lot of pain behind her action. Yes, there is a psychoticness, but there is still a pain behind there. And I feel like you need an experienced actor to play to that pain, especially in the world that they've built with this version, with Joaquin Phoenix's version of the Joker, who gave such a nuanced performance. Casting a non-actor to play against Joaquin Phoenix, to me, I had no confidence in that casting. And I did not necessarily think, oh, well, Margot Robbie is the only person that can play Harley Quinn, so she has to play it in this world, because clearly it's a very different version. But I do feel like she is one of the best, again, one of those more perfect castings with Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. She plays it. That is the reason why she is one of the only actors that has been consistent across like different universes, with the
sure,
first Suicide Squad and the second Suicide Squad,
sure.
and her own spin-off show. And I think that I don't necessarily need her to play Harley Quinn in every universe, but all circling it back, I don't think Scarlett Johansson can give a performance like we need for a Harley Quinn, especially when you have
Sure.
Margot Robbie setting the bar really high.
Well, and it's funny because I do look at the Batman, and when we do eventually get a Harley Quinn, it is going to be more in line with like the Lady Gaga type casting. Again, you haven't seen Lady Gaga act, so when you say non-actor, you don't know, because I guarantee you haven't seen anything she's been in. Granted, some of the stuff isn't the best, but
I was
even in
gonna
her,
say I don't think I want to see most of it. I
but
haven't heard
like
great
but
things.
like Star is Born, she's incredible in that. And it's a phenomenal performance, so much so that I'm pretty sure she was nominated in 2018. She didn't win, but she was nominated. Uh, a phenomenal performance. Apparently, she's good in American Horror Story. I've never watched it, but apparently she's supposed to be really good in that. I watched House of Gucci. The movie itself, fine, gives an incredible performance. And for the realistic Joker tone, it makes sense. The Batman kind of falls in line with that, where it's more of a realistic tone. It does have the comic booky feel, but it's a lot more of a realistic tone. The Batman feels the most Batman movie to me. Like it feels the most accurate to like what it should be. uh,
Mhm.
which is again why there's a great contrast between that and Superman. Superman feels exactly like Superman should. It's very comic booky. It's very big, bold. Batman also is like that, but it feels more like a Batman comic, where it's the
Yeah.
detective mystery thriller. Um, and at the end of the day, we're talking about all of this. Being completely honest, I just want to see the Penguin again. You said something controversial about how you've never seen the Batman. I'm going to say something more controversial. I think the Penguin's better than the Batman. I love that show. I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I
I
haven't seen the Penguin because I haven't seen the Batman, and I know there is some, like, very minimal. I know they're relatively standalone, but I do want to watch it in the order that it's supposed to be because I
yeah.
know the Batman builds up the world that the Penguin plays in, and I want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, but the Penguin's
But
so grounded and it's so darn good. I want them to have a season 2 of that show just because of how good season 1 was. It
hell,
was
I might
my
watch
favorite.
the Batman tomorrow. It's Martin Luther King Day tomorrow, so I don't have work, so I might just watch the Batman. Obviously, I won't watch the Penguin because I won't have time, but
Yeah, yeah, you definitely would
I
not have time. Uh but no, that is a phenomenal show.
yeah.
That being said, Sebastian Stan, Two-Face, bring it on. Give me it, show me it. I
Yeah,
want it.
I'm excited to see that casting, but what I'm more excited about is talking about the Bone Temple, or
We
at
got
least more specifically how we
boned.
got boned in
We
theaters.
got boned in
Because
theaters.
what's up, Nimrods? It's your boys back with another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast on the internet where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. I'm your host for today's episode, Brandon, aka Parafish, here with my forever co-host.
Carson, aka Juggernaut.
And today we're talking about how we got boned in theaters because we're talking about 28 years later, Bone Temple, a movie that I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't that excited to see. I had no expectations going into it. I watched the first one, and it is kind of spoiling a little bit. I'll talk about it a little bit. I watched the first one, as I typically do, about an hour before I left to go to see this movie in theaters. Typical Brandon. Um, and was I surprised? Was I not? I don't know. We'll find out. But first, we have to find out, Carson. How are you doing, brother? How's your week been?
Room is still a mess. Still got everything all over the place. It ain't going away. That ain't fixing anytime soon. Tired. I have a wedding next week. It's
Yes.
not mine. I should be very specific about that. Uh,
Oh man, I thought you and I were getting married finally.
no. The live stream on the podcast, $20. If we get 10,000 likes, I'll propose. Don't worry.
No, I was
Uh,
gonna, I was gonna, I was gonna say 10,000 subscribers, we get married.
10,000 subscribers. We're getting married and divorced in the same day. It'd be really entertaining.
Well,
We go
it's
through the whole
funny
process.
because we've talked, at least I've talked about my love for the Escape Pod on this podcast before. They recently hit 100,000 subscribers, and it's been a running joke for years at this point that one of the main hosts was going to shave his head bald when they hit 100,000 subscribers. So
Oh
it's
no.
like we got to
Oh.
do something, we got to follow in their foot. Who's going bald? I wear a hat, so
I will
it makes
rob
no
a
difference for
convenience
me to go
store.
bald.
I will rob a convenience store for 10,000 subscribers.
Live stream convenience store
live
robbery.
live stream convenience store robbery. Other than that, no, I'm good. Yeah, just another week. It's how it goes.
Yeah, I feel you there. I've been sleeping terribly this past week, so I feel you on the exhaustion thing. My cat's been waking me up for no reason at like 2 o'clock in the morning. She's just like, you know what? It's playtime, and I'm like, no, 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 no. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You do
Please,
you do realize
please
this?
let me sleep,
Please,
please.
please,
I
Saya.
did I did watch another movie this weekend, which I know you've seen, and I know you said you thought it was okay. It wasn't your favorite, but it came back to theater, so I watched it again. But I watched Reservoir Dogs this weekend. Um,
I enjoyed the movie for what it is. You know better than anyone else, obviously, because we've been friends for so long. But like my movie taste has evolved over time, so I feel like I'd probably enjoy Reservoir Dogs a lot more. But like Quentin Tarantino is very hit or miss for me, and
it,
his style.
most of his films are slow burns. I think the only one that okay, there's two of his films that I'm like, I'll give it credit. Four films. There are four films of his. The rest are slow burns that I'm like, okay, that's pretty quick paced. It goes pretty quickly. Kill Bill being one, which I know you really like. You would really like. Inglorious Bastards, Django Unchained, and Pulp Fiction are all like pretty quickly paced. They have a
Hmm.
pretty good feeling. The rest of his films are slow burns, but that's on purpose because they're meant to be more slow burns. Hollywood is a slow burn. Hateful Eight's a slow burn. Death Proof is a slow burn. I don't even like Death Proof all that much.
I've heard that Death Proof is like if Quentin Tarantino had a bad, not bad movie, but I think it's his lowest rated movie.
It's his weakest one, but I think
Yeah.
that's because that was him trying to branch out and do something different just for the sake of doing something different. And I think the reason why he hasn't gone back to that genre is because he realized he didn't like it all that much. I think he's proud of his film, and I think he should be. It's a good movie, but like I think he didn't want to go back to it because he realized how much he didn't like it.
Yeah.
But anyway, did that this week, so that was fun. That was pretty good.
I do have one other thing to quickly talk about since you talked about Reservoir Dogs. My most anticipated game of the last 7 years finally released into early access this week. It's a game you've probably never heard of. It's called Hytale. It's a game that was made by Hypixel Studios, which is the people who run the most successful Minecraft server in pretty much history. And it is. Have you heard of the game Terraria?
Yeah.
So it's basically like a mix between Terraria, Valheim, and Minecraft, where it is a 3D block voxel style game, but it actually has a progression system. Like you're not just building and free roaming. Like, no, you have bosses to fight, you have to upgrade your tools and your workbenches, there's exploration, there's multiple new dimensions. And I've probably put maybe 8 hours, 9 hours into it since it dropped this week. And I love it. It's early access, so it's still very bare bones. Like the history of this game is ridiculous. Literally, it got canceled 2 months ago. And then the original owners sold it to Riot Studios about 5 years ago. Riot being the people who run stuff like League of Legends. The scope got way too big. They tried to switch to a new game engine and development didn't go well. So Riot canceled the game after 5 years. Well, the community, including myself, were very upset about this because we really wanted this game to happen. So we rioted enough to where Simon, the original founder of this game, bought it back from Riot Studios after they canceled the game. And then within 2-3 weeks of buying it back, released it into early access. So this game has been in turmoil for years, and for being in early access, it's a very complete and enjoyable experience. And with the roadmap that they have ahead, I'm so happy. This is going to be controversial. This is my GTA 6. This is bigger than GTA 6 for me as someone who has played maybe an hour of GTA 5 and doesn't really care about the GTA franchise. This is my GTA 6, but I know Carson's going to have his actual GTA 6 later this year.
No, it's never getting released. They say there's a release date, but it's not getting released. That's just not going to happen.
It's fake news. It's fake news. But
when it really releases, I'll believe it. Can we quickly talk about how we got boned this weekend?
Yeah, you ruined my transition because I was like, man, now I'm thrown off. You ruined my I had a perfect transition and you just had to ruin it.
Let's run it back. Let's run it back. Hold on.
Okay. So GTA 6 might not release ever, but you know what did release in theaters? Bone Temple. Carson, I want you to go ahead and kick us off. And I will say, you can do this however you want, but you can talk about have you seen the other movies, obviously other than 28 Years Later, because that is required viewing. The other two are not. Yeah. Did you enjoy those movies? And then you can kind of transition into your thoughts. You can do that, you can not. That's what I'm gonna do, but want to give you the option.
No, look, I have a love-hate relationship with this franchise. I acknowledge that they have a cult following. I acknowledge that people love them, and they're films that should be right up my alley. For everything that I've loved, for everything that I watch. 28 Days Later, it's fun. It's okay. I don't think it's anything really special, but it's okay. 28 Weeks Later, don't really like it that much. I acknowledge that there's people who like that film. I think it's incredibly weak as a film. 28 Years Later, I really thoroughly enjoyed. And I actually, looking back at last year's slate, I wish we would have talked about it on the podcast. I don't know what came out at the same time it did, but I wish we would have, because I really enjoyed 28 Years Later. It was actually the first time I sat there and went, oh, this is actually something I can really get behind and enjoy. It had a few twists and turns, but also it didn't really do anything different. It just redid the world with new characters, and I really enjoyed that. Bone Temple. Okay. This is where it gets really interesting, because in my opinion and in my mind, and again, it's so fresh in my head, so I may have to think about this more. I think the Bone Temple's the best thing that this franchise has done, which is very funny because you can't really have this film without having the other films, considering that that does all your world building for you. This is a big character piece from 3 points of views. You have Jimmy, you have Kelson, and you have Samson. And it's a big character piece from their perspective. You have other characters in that you know you can tell their story through. Spike's a big portion of that, where it's literally like, you know, at the beginning of this film, they have that sign, no children, yada, 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 whatever. And it's a big, you know, study about childhood trauma, especially that's Jimmy's thing. You know, obviously we have the one bit in 28 Years Later where, you know, we get to experience a little bit of his childhood trauma with the Teletubbies and everything. But, you know, it's a big character study for those 3 characters specifically, and they take the franchise in an interesting direction that I wasn't expecting them to take it in. I love the idea that Kelson is helping Samson, and he truly believes that, you know, because obviously these aren't zombies; it's a rage virus, that they can be returned to human form, and Kelson believes that, and I think it's a beautiful take. And watching that friendship bloom is so well done. It's also just like very well written as well. I believed every second of that. Jack O'Connell, goodness, he's on a villain run, isn't he? Sinners and now here. Very, very, very good for him. He plays an incredible villain here. He's menacing. I wish that he, strangely enough, even though he did a lot, he's the one character I'm like, I do wish he had just a little bit. What is going on with the wind outside? Okay. I wish that he had just a slight bit more to do, because he gave a lot of speeches and he did some actions, but he himself didn't do all that much. But I think that's the biggest flaw with Bone Temple, but it's also its biggest positive. The story itself really doesn't have much of a story. Like, it literally is just watching these characters go through their life, which I feel like is kind of always what it is with 28 Years Later. You're watching characters, but I feel like the other ones have a bit more of a story than this one does. This one has interesting concepts and ideas, but you're watching these characters go through it. And it's not really until the end when you have, you know, Jimmy coming face to face with Kelson being like, "Hey, are you Satan?" "Oh, no." "Okay, well, I need you to pretend you're Satan for my cult," basically. And that's kind of where the plots kind of converge, meet head to head again, and it all comes full circle with really what I think is a phenomenal ending for all 3 of the real leads of the characters. I love Kelson sacrificing himself for Spike. Like, I think Kelson knows, like, okay, he's 100% going to die. Like, he's doing it, but he's doing it so Spike can be free, because he knows Spike. He knows that you know, he wants to just help him, which is what Kelson's character is so good. He's just this guy who's always wanting to help. He's a doctor, Dr. Voldemort, I guess. Samson, you know, basically coming back and revealing, like, okay, he's fully verbal at this point. Like, he has his human memories back. He remembers everything that he went through with Kelson, all of it, showing that the virus can be changed. And then obviously Jimmy getting his comeuppance, you know, being crucified, whatever. It's all well done. It's a big character study. Again, there's not a big through plot very much until the end, but I don't hate that either. It doesn't, I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with it. All in all, I do think it's my favorite of the films. And by far, it is the best movie of 2026.
Yeah, I mean, it is, it's the only movie we've seen, and this is our first new movie of 2026, which is funny. Also, I forgot to give it, so apologies, but big spoiler warning, even though Carson already
Oh,
spoiled
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Big spoiler warning. We spoil things on this podcast. We don't really care about spoiler-free stuff. Oops.
Oopsie.
Yeah, no, it is funny with this being like the first new movie of January is always a shit year for a shit month for
Yeah.
movies.
What the
Like
heck?
like we've already, and we'll talk about this at the end of the episode. We're struggling for next week. Is it going to be Return to Silent Hill? Do we give a shit about Return to Silent Hill? We don't know. But so my history with the 28 years, days, weeks later franchise, I'm not a big fan of zombies. I think it's kind of one of the most overplayed genres. I know that you can say that about most horror things, but people coming back from the dead, which I know this isn't, and I want to make that clear. I do understand that this is a spin on the zombie franchise. It's not necessarily a unique spin, but it is a spin nonetheless, where they're technically not zombies. You have alphas, you have fast ones, you have the fat ones, and we actually get explanations as to why there's different types of them. I've only seen 28 years later. I have not seen 28 days or 28 weeks. I do want to go back and watch those movies now, but I'm not a big fan of zombies, so I was never really encouraged to go back. When I watched 28 years later, 2 hours before I saw 28 years later, Bone Temple, I wasn't blown away. I was like, this was good. It was way too artsy, in my opinion. Like the kills, I hate every time they killed one of the rage monsters or whatever. I hated it. It was stupidly shot. It felt way too unnecessarily artsy and pretentious to me. It was like just drop them dead. Then you would have like these spliced in shots of like medieval and all of that, and like I know that it's meaningful in a way, but, like, I just didn't I understood it, but I didn't understand it at the same time. Like, I didn't feel like it was necessary or really enhanced anything that was going on. I felt like the main through line was very clear, and I very much enjoyed it. I felt like everyone gave very good performances. I felt like it had a really sad ending, but had a really good message with it about living on past death and being remembered. And overall, I walked away from the first movie being like, I don't regret watching it. Like I had a good enough time, but it wasn't something that I was like, oh my God, I need more of this. Obviously, knowing we were going to get more, I was going into the second movie a little apprehensive and being like, I'm just gonna sit here and watch another artsy zombie rage movie. Bone Temple blew me away. It genuinely blew me away. They removed everything that I wasn't a big fan about from the first movie. They made the kills better. They took away all those weird cuts and artsy moments. Yes, they might not have had as clear of a through line for exactly what was going on, but I feel like that felt better in this movie. I actually liked how it focused more on just characters' experiences in this world, and then did end up having a ending through line, but it was kind of like, you can say it was choppy getting there, but I enjoyed every step of the way more than I enjoyed the through line that was the first movie. This movie, or this franchise really, because this is something I did enjoy about the first one, has the best use of nudity in any movie I've seen. There's a bunch of nudity in these movies, very big flopping nudity in these movies, but none of it's sexual, and it's done in a way that you're like, if the zombies or these rage monsters were to still be clothed after 28 years, I'd be sitting there be like, oh, well, this is just the producers like being pretentious and like, oh, we can't have this. Like, no, it feels meaningful. It feels like intentional in a way. Everything in this movie feels very intentional. Like, another reason I don't love zombie movies is a lot of the violence in them can feel very campy and over the top. We eat brains, we kill people. This is a very violent movie. Like, I was very uncomfortable at certain points in time during this movie that we'll talk about a little later on, but it all made sense and felt way more intentional than your typical, oh, we're just having blood and guts on screen to have blood and guts on screen. All of the actors in this movie give incredible performances. Like, it taking the main character of your last movie with Spike and making him a supporting character, but still giving him an emotional through line, I really enjoyed actually. I wasn't sure how I would enjoy that when it was made very clear early on in the movie that we weren't just following him. We're following multiple points of view and multiple different characters. And I was like, okay, I did actually connect to Spike in the first movie. And now we're kind of moving away from him, but also not. And it really surprised me that I was like, no, this actually like makes sense for the way that they're building out this multi-perspective world. I think you talked about the end of this movie. The last 30 minutes, or specifically the Satan sequence, I was in awe, like genuine mouth dropped open in awe. It was an incredible sequence. Everything from when the Jimmies show up to basically the end of this movie was like an actually jaw on the floor. I was so impressed with how they wrapped it all together. And yes, you have what was it, Metallica performing like that was obviously that was great.
Iron
But
Maiden, yeah,
yeah, that was great. But everything surrounding that and the meaning behind that performance, knowing that it could be his last moments and he's trying to put on this thing, and you can see the fear in his eyes at every step of the way. It was genuinely like jaw dropping, and I want to talk about it even more. But overall, on my thoughts in this movie, like I don't know if it'll make my top 10 at the end of the year. Right now, it is the best movie of 2026 because it's the only new movie we've seen in 2026. But I wouldn't be surprised if it at least made an honorable mention because it was really, really good.
yeah. I feel like, yeah, you never
Like
really know.
well, it's hard just looking at the slate that we have with movies that could easily become favorite movies of all time for me, with like The Odyssey, Spider-Man Brand New Day, Doomsday. Like there's a lot of movies that could easily like blow this movie out of the water. But like
Sure.
for now, I'm sitting here like really impressed by
Yeah.
how much and here's the thing, like I say how much I enjoyed this movie. There were a lot of times that I did not enjoy watching this movie, not because I'm like, oh, this is bad performances or anything like that, but like just to get into this, I'll start with this. Like the violence in this movie
It's brutal.
it's brutal, and again, it's very intentional because it's not like a slasher movie where they're just killing people left and right. But the like we talked about the ending sequence of the movie. Let's start with the opening sequence of this movie. Genuinely incredible. Like actually hard to watch,
Ah.
but it they did a phenomenal job opening this movie up because it gripped me from the second it started. Having
Well,
Spike fight one of the Jimmies for his life, winning by dumb luck, and watching the life drain from this dude's eyes really sets up the main Jimmy villain arc so well. It sets up Spike's arc so well. It was hard to watch, but
yeah, but I think with this film specifically, again, the invoking theme of childhood trauma. I know that there's more themes to it than that, but especially to set up, because when you objectively look at this movie, yes, I want to say Kelsey's the main character. Yes, I want to say Samson's the main character. It's Jack O'Connell's movie. Like it's straight up his movie from start to finish. Which is also why I wish he had a little bit more to do. But Jack O'Connell comes in this movie, and literally one of the first shots, one of the first things, and I got barking downstairs. Love that. One of the first things that you see in this film is the sign above the door, no children allowed, whatever. I can't remember exactly what it says. And then it shows at the end of the fight sequence again as well, because it's invoking the fact that, you know, Spike at the end of the day is a kid who's being basically thrusted into this world through violence, just like I'll say main Jimmy or Jack O'Connell. I'm talking about either one when I say it.
yeah.
But Jack O'Connell had when he experienced his childhood trauma and his violence, and he's being thrusted into the world where he is. He watched his dad, Papa Priest, get absolutely murdered by some rage zombies, and it set him up to be in the position that he is now, where he lives in this world by the only thing that he knew, which was movies and television. And this opening sequence is a great parallel to Kelson later, where it's Jack O'Connell does everything for himself. He trains up this cult, but he's all doing it for himself, and he's surviving this world the way he knows how. He's a Satanist versus
His dad, who is a priest.
His dad, who is a priest.
So,
and then Kelson also is different because he's the science believer. It's like faith and science coming head to head.
so I have a question.
Yeah.
And maybe this is obvious and I'm just an idiot. And this is kind of what I've put together. In the beginning of the first movie, the 28 years later, specifically,
Okay.
we start out with a priest getting attacked by the rage monsters and a son running in. That's Jack O'Connell's character, right?
Yeah, that's Jack. That's why I'm saying that scene specifically.
No.
That
Yeah, no, I know. I just wanted because like that confused me in the first movie. We start with that to set everything up, and then we don't get any payoff. Like, and
this
it's
is the
not
payoff.
exactly. No, I get it. And that actually, I will admit, that actually makes me appreciate the first movie a lot more. Like, after watching this movie, it makes me appreciate that, like, they were ballsy enough to set up their main villain at the opening sequences of 28 years later, do nothing with it, introduce this character that you don't know is the kid you saw at the beginning of the movie, and then you have to put the pieces together throughout the course of this movie. And it's like, I love when they're putting the pieces together where it's like, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know that Old Nick was a way of saying Satan. So
Yeah.
I knew that they were Satanist, but when it all came together and was like, oh, you actually worship, like the upside down crosses made it obvious, but that all coming together and then like, sorry, I know we were talking, but like,
No,
man,
no, no,
there's
it's
there's
fine.
there's a there's a
It's
lot
fine.
that
Yeah. No, there is a lot, and again, I think that this just Jack O'Connell's character. So this is the interesting. This is why I said during my initial thoughts, I was like, you can't really have this movie without the others. Even though I think this movie is like really good and is so much better because of that initial setup. You'll get the idea that I guess you don't need to technically have it, but it enhances your experience once you realize that that was Jack O'Connell as a kid. That's what he experienced. That's why he is the way that he is. Again, he grew up in violence, and then he grew up by a father of faith, but then he turns on that faith whenever he sees the world has gone to crap. Again, it's also different because we'll talk about this more, especially when we get to the scene between Kelson and Jimmy or Jack O'Connell when we get to that moment, because that I want to talk about that scene specifically. The whole point of those two characters is that O'Connell's character believes, hey, I think this entire world is hell on Earth. It's led by Satan. That's what all these zombies are for. We're all unredeemable. We're just surviving. And he believes that he is just surviving, meant to do what he's supposed to do because he's good at it. He's like the Walking Dead Negan type figure, but on a much weirder, more culty manner.
yeah.
Versus Kelson, who believes that these zombies are redeemable, that this isn't hell on Earth, that this isn't the end of times. This is just something that kind of happened, and he wants to help. And it also makes the irony of his death later on, like Kelson being the only one to probably figure this out and the only one to be able to fix or do anything. That's what's also that's so. Oh God, I know I'm getting ahead of myself. That makes his death so
That makes me
heartbreaking.
so curious where the movie is going to go. Like where, because this is a trilogy. This is like
Yeah,
standalone. Obviously, I watched these movies without having seen the others, but I will say, and I talked about this with Carson before the podcast, but like I did know that why am I blanking on his name now?
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy was the main lead in the first movie. So jumping really ahead, I did understand the ending sequence. But I will say now, having seen that, I am definitely gonna go at least watch the first movie again
Yeah,
because it'll probably pay off the second one. But it does make me like, again, we're jumping to the end here, but like it makes me so curious now that like we found a cure, but the only guy who could find the cure died in a stupid manner. Like, I'm not
yeah.
saying it was stupid, like I didn't enjoy it, but like looking at it objectively, like he died for no reason. He died for a stupid ass reason because a psychopath stabbed him.
I mean, he didn't die for no reason. He died saving Spike. Like
I
that
know,
was
but
his whole purpose. But I get
I'm
what you're
just saying,
saying.
like he's this really important guy who is like found the cure essentially to the rage virus, and then he dies because someone just offhand stabs a knife into him
Right.
out of rage. Like,
Right. Well,
again, I'm
and
not saying I don't enjoy this. I'm just saying like the meaning behind that death is so much deeper than just Kelson dying.
sure.
It's like, well, what is Samson gonna do? Samson doesn't know how to cure himself. Like maybe he can have some memories, but he's not a doctor. We see he was literally a kid when all of this went down, and that's one of the things that, like, if you don't mind, like jumping to this, this was something I was thinking about throughout the
No,
entire this
go
movie
ahead.
with Samson, and what makes him like so compelling is like obviously we see Samson in the 28 years later, and he's brutal. He's murdering people. We see him in the second movie. The first time we see him in this movie, he's doing the same thing. He's ripping a dude's spine out.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. Imagine having to come out of this rage virus and, like, how do you grapple with that? Like I get that he was a rage monster and he couldn't do anything about it, but, like, imagine coming
Well,
out
the
28 years later, you were a kid going into this, you barely have any memories because they've all been clouded. Like, obviously, he's regaining his memories, so we know he does have his memories, but, like, coming out of this and, like, I don't know. Like, that was just what I was thinking about when Samson was getting redeemed. I was like, wow, this is so cool. This is like, I love all of this. But I'm like, I wonder, I guess it's more of a question is like, how much are they going to explore that?
well, and the other question that I pose with that is he going to remember any of the times when he was a zombie, or is it only like when he was a kid and then after he started getting the morphine again? That's the other
Yeah.
question. Is like he might not remember ripping the dude's spine out. He might not remember any of the violence that he committed. He might not because he was such a mind-nulled rage virus dude. That's the other thing,
Yeah.
and those are questions that we can answer in a later film. But I'm glad you transitioned to Samson because I was going to transition to him too, especially when we were talking about Kelson. I think it's logical sense that Samson will. I think it's obvious Samson's coming back. He's not done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that character will come back. I'm a little sad that I don't think. I know Jodie Comer's character, dies at the end of 28 years later, but I kind of wanted her character to like make like some sort of an appearance, just to maybe
I
like
mean, her skull is at the top of the the
no,
bone
well,
mountain.
not like, but like maybe like a flashback or
Oh, yeah.
like a
I mean,
vision or
maybe,
something. I don't know.
maybe.
I was hoping that we would get that. Here's also another interesting thing about Bone Temple because it released in January. It released in a month where I thought it was going to be bad, and it came up almost 6 months after the other film. I swear, I thought this film was going to be so bad because of those reasons alone. I thought that
Well,
we were about to step in and watch a film of like, oh, deleted scenes and things that just didn't get put into 28 years later. Now we got the Bone Temple. That's immediately what I
here's
thought it was going to be.
here's the thing though, and I thought about this after I walked out of theater, so I'm actually really glad you brought this up. I love that they did that. It is
Oh yeah.
genius,
Oh yeah.
mainly because what did everyone complain about with Stranger Things? It took way too long. You had child actors that played pivotal roles that looked like adults in the last season, or especially like
Right.
progressing with the seasons. I wouldn't be surprised, and this is probably information I could Google. They've probably already filmed quite a lot of the third movie. It's not like I'm pretty sure it's coming out like next year or something like that. Like not this year,
That
but
would
like
make sense.
27.
Yeah.
If your main actor is a kid and you're not doing big time jumps, you're not like skipping around, like it makes total sense for this movie to come like to be filmed and come out so quickly because I don't want to sit down and watch this movie and Spike be like 2 feet taller when it's realistically been 5 days or a day since
Right.
the incidents went down because this movie picks up relatively
It's
immediately after
immediately.
the last one, like
It's
probably
immediately.
less than a day. Yeah, exactly. So
It's immediately where the last one did. And I do appreciate that. Again, it makes me nervous for the third film. This is the other thing. We've lost so many of these main characters, which,
yeah, they
okay,
just be killing them left and right.
remind me again, and this might seem super stupid. Aaron Taylor Johnson's character died at the end of the 20 years later, right? Like
Which
he's
one
dead.
is Aaron Taylor Johnson again?
I gotta find the character's name. I haven't seen the other one since it was released in theaters. Hold on, give me a
Is
minute.
it what was his role? Who did he play?
That's why I'm looking up the name. He
Oh, you just remember the actor. But
yeah.
what role in the movie did he play?
He's the guy with the bow. He's like the
Oh,
main
the
guy.
dad?
The
You're talking about the
dad.
dad? No, the
Yeah.
dad's still alive. If you remember the way that, because I saw this movie more recently than you did, the way the movie ends is Spike leaves the baby from the infected on the doorstep of the island civilization that he came from, leaving a note for his dad saying, "Hey, not necessarily like not screw you, but like I need to step into my own. I don't want to face you again." Like explaining somewhat of what happened. We end with the sequence with the Spike reading the note and the dad like he does run out into the ocean, but it's not like insinuated that he died or anything. It was just like
Jamie.
insinuated that he was upset.
Yeah.
And so
Jamie's the character's name.
he will come back in the third. Like, there's no way they're not going to return either at the end of the movie or at some point in time
Right.
to Spike's home. And it
Right.
probably will be, I'm going to take a wild guess here. It'll be about the halfway point of the movie. It's not, they're not going to wait till the end of the movie. I think it'll be about halfway through the second movie. For whatever reason, they'll go back
Well, yeah, well,
to
because
the
I think
island and
this last movie is like the end game of the 28 franchise. Essentially, I don't know if they're gonna make more beyond it. But
that
like
again, that's
you're gonna
where
have Murphy back. You're gonna have Spike and Kelly now like being roped in from Bone Temple. Assuming you'll have Samson, and then I would assume if he's still alive or he comes back, you'll have Jamie as well. And it'll be like this big culmination finale movie, which I kind of like now. It does make me sad that we don't have Kelson, or we don't, honestly, that we don't have Jack O'Connell, because I actually kind of wish he was the main overarching villain of this franchise, purely just based on the fact of, we have the rage virus zombies that I guess could be the main villains. I know that that's technically the overarching goal, but even in Walking Dead, like the zombies were, granted, this also may have made the show bad. I don't know. They weren't technically the overarching villain. They were a threat, but the main villain was, at the end of the day, other people in
humans.
clan. They
Yeah.
were humans themselves.
Yeah, well, in this movie does a really good job of having Sir Jimmy be that. And one of my favorite like nuanced moments in the movie was as Sir Jimmy is talking with Dr. Kelson about what's going on. He's basically like begging him to, or not begging him, but having the whole conversation with him. He realizes he's easy to talk to. I love they never bring it up. They never mention it, but you can notice the second that Dr. Kelson realizes what's going on with Jimmy when he's talking about, oh, I hear voices, I see things. And Dr. Kelson, being a doctor, switch flips within his head and he goes, oh, I know what's going on here. I've heard of this before.
Yeah.
I've seen this before. Never mentions it, but in that moment, it kind of pieces it all together if you hadn't realized yet what was going on. Where we've seen serial killers before who murdered because they had Satan talking with them in their head because they have split personality disorder, or they're just straight up a psychopath, or they have schizophrenia, whatever one
Right.
of those like diagnosed things. And I love how at the end of this movie, it kind of comes back together with there's no voice in his head. He can't hear anything. And then he sees Samson come up and it looks like Satan. And I think that was a
Yeah.
really good way. I will say I didn't like the jump scare at the end of the movie, mainly because it did scare the shit out of me. When like he's hanging, like certain Jimmy is hanging upside down, and you think Samson's walked away, and it's just silence there, and his eyes are fading, and then you see Samson like jump out the dark to rip him to shreds. I was like, come on, man,
Why? Why
why'd you do
there?
that?
Why'd you do that to me? Me and my weak little heart.
Yep, yep,
No, but I get what you're saying. I guess, there's a lot of posing questions towards the future, but like I think the biggest thing that this film did was change my perspective on this franchise. But it wasn't the old movies that did that. Like I acknowledge those movies are fine and they have a cult following, but these past two films have now brought to the table something that I wasn't expecting, which was a really entertaining through line and finale. What I'm hoping will be a very strong finale to it.
yeah,
Otherwise, they'll just be chucked in the bin as another franchise. That's like, oh, okay, well, it happened. It was a thing that happened.
yeah.
Um,
Well, and it's like again, like I don't typically watch like I will transition into another thing that we can talk about that
sure,
we touched on previously. I don't One of the worst movies I've ever seen. I don't even remember the name of it. It was a good movie. I want to make that clear. I just hated watching the movie. And I will probably never remember the name of this. You might have never seen it. It's about a guy who gets into the drug world and he is a really rich American drug dealer who ends up mixed up with the Mexican cartels. Now, if you know anything about the Mexican cartels, in real life, the Mexican cartels are the most brutal group of human beings
Yes.
pretty much ever. They will cut your head off with chainsaws, they will skin you alive, they will do horrendous things. And this movie did not hold any punches. There's a scene, spoiler alert for a movie that I don't even remember the title of, they stick a tire on a dude, douse him in lighter fluid, whip him with a whip until his face is falling apart, like his eyeball pops out. He's literally falling apart. And then we watch in a like 5-minute sequence as the dude stands there burning alive while people laugh at him. I could not get through that sequence. I almost barfed. It was very hard to watch. Reason I'm bringing that up is because this movie has a very similar sequence to
Right.
it where we're giving charity and we're skidding people alive. Now, we don't see the entire process of them being skinned alive, but we do see the initial cut, the rip of the skin, and then we cut to them throwing chunks of skin on the ground as these people sit like hang there with no skin on. And it was like I struggled, man. It was like a it's not like a why is this here? It was more of just like a oh my god, this is like they're not holding
Yeah.
anything back. Like,
Well, and
oh my
here's the thing.
god.
I agree with you. That being said, I would probably be saying a completely different story right now if I hadn't watched the Terrifier movies and I've sat through what's probably the
Oh,
worst violence I've ever sat through in my entire life.
I have seen a single 2-second clip of the Terrifiers when I was laying trying to go to sleep because it popped up on my feed. I did not sleep that night. And I never want to even think about those movies ever, let alone see them. I've heard that they are the most gruesome movies to ever exist.
I think some theaters literally give you barf bags because they know what's coming. Like,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they do that. They didn't do it at my showing, but like I watched them because
I would
they had
need
a house
one.
at Horror Nights, and I threw up at my home during the second one. I couldn't handle it. It was really bad. It was
Yeah,
really bad. This movie is bad on violence, but again, also like I sat through the entirety of The Walking Dead. I've sat through the entirety of Game of Thrones, and yeah, it's bad here, but it's similar level to that. But no, this film gruesome. I mean, it is brutal, more
it's
so
like,
than I think the last films were.
and here's the thing. I'm going to pose a question to you.
Okay.
So I don't even remember if she's named. I think she might be, but you have the one girl who is the only survivor of this family.
You
She,
mean
the so we go to this like I'll call them like Amish family. They're not, but like the off the grid living in their
no, I
gated
won't.
community
Yeah,
family.
I won't remember her name, but
No, no,
it's
no, I know.
the
I'm not asking if you remember her name, but I am going to ask you something. She sits there for however long this takes and watches her loved ones get skinned alive. I'm fucking running 2 seconds into that. I'm not watching that. One, if there's nothing I can do and you're not going to do anything about it, why are you putting yourself through that? Like, I get it. You don't want to leave your family. Maybe there's a chance that they can survive, and one of them does for 30 seconds and then dies. But, like, what?
so
Why did she sit there for over an hour doing nothing but probably crying, surprisingly in silence, and watch her family get skinned alive?
that's the thing. There are different people and they react to different things. One is you're so shocked by what's happening, you can't move, you can't do anything. The other is a flight or fight, sequence where you just take off running, you don't come back, you run for the hills, or you just straight up hide and you don't know what to do. I think that like those are typical responses for people who are put in situations like that.
Maybe this is a knock on my character. If there's nothing I can do about it,
I
I'm
heard
not going to sit there and watch my family get skinned alive. Like, I'm going to
well,
be devastated and I might not want to continue on living, but like, I'm either going to sacrifice myself in that moment to try and save them, or I'm fucking out of there.
good to
Like,
know. So skin you first. I'm gonna tell the person to skin you first whenever we're in that situation. Heard, so I can
well,
run.
because like she does end up making a difference. I'll give her credit. 4 people got entirely skinned alive. 4 people. Clearly, she picked a favorite, and you can make the argument, and I think it's a valid argument
She picked
that
a favorite.
that that technically there wasn't much she could do, and she saw the opportunity. Clearly, we set up their relationship already. They're probably engaged or brother and sister. I have no idea, but they set up their relationship in one of the opening sequences of the movie. Where also, I just want to point this out. This is another thing that, like, I'll admit I didn't like about the movie, and I feel like was kind of a odd choice.
Yeah.
Is we are 28 years into the zombie apocalypse.
28 years.
28 years. These people have been presumably held up in their house for a extensive portion of these 28 years together. They are the only people that they know at this point. They're very close together. They all probably maybe have a love-hate relationship, because being stuck 28 years with the same people can get very tough. I understand that. But there are what? There's the couple slash siblings, whatever they are, and then the 3 other people in this house, or 4 other people.
Sure.
One of them dies, and they abandon him like it's nothing, like he
Yeah.
didn't matter. And I'm sitting there like, you didn't even try. Like, I get it, you don't want to die, but like, they didn't even act like they cared, and I didn't really love that. Maybe give us like a one-line explanation as to why, like, oh, he's a jackass or something like that. But like, 28 years into the apocalypse, these are the only people that you've known for possibly 2 decades, and one of them dies, and you act like it didn't matter. Like, I don't love that choice. Maybe that's to set up why she didn't save them, and she's disconnected. Like, I don't know.
I think it's such a minor thing to complain about. That's why, like, yeah, I see the complaint.
I know it's a minor thing,
but it's just a minor thing.
But it was something that I was just sitting there like, man, she really is a jackass. Like, she sits there watching 4 people get skinned alive, and also watches someone she spent 2 decades with die, and acts like it doesn't matter. I'm like, damn, okay, buddy.
Yeah, maybe it was just the thing of like, oh, I want to see what this looks like. Wait, hang on, I want to see how he does it. Maybe it was more of an educational lesson. Maybe that's what we just didn't know, is that she wanted to learn how to flay people alive, basically.
Man, that was an interesting. That was an interesting. I have a question for you as well. Did you think that she was gonna, for even a second, that Spike was gonna go with her, or did you think that she was gonna run?
No, I thought she was gonna run.
Yeah, fair. That's fair. You've already set up that she doesn't give a fuck about any other human being except for. Actually, I just realized I kept saying maybe brother, maybe fiance. She was pregnant. That is clearly her fiance, husband, whatever. So yeah. But like, damn. Do you think she's gonna come back? Do you think we're gonna ever see her again?
I hope not. I think that's a character we can just let burn and die. I think her kid could come back if it's like enough time has passed in between.
I guess that really depends on, like, is the next movie the last one? Are we gonna wrap up this apocalypse on a good note? Are we gonna have it be a sad ending?
Yeah, I think her character only would have been important if the cult had survived. If the cult had survived, I would have said, yeah, bring her character back so she can complete an arc of sorts. But she just is kind of pointless now because that cult's dead. Which okay, sure.
But talking about the cult, let's move on to, like, great performances all around.
Oh yeah,
from the Jimmies.
From the Jimmies, good performances. I'm gonna need a list. Which Jimmy's which?
Jimmy 1, Jimmy 2.
Thing 1, thing 2.
Oh, I do like how on IMDb all of their characters are named Jimmy. So you have Connor Newell, who play. I don't even know which. How am I supposed to describe, other than Jimmy Inc., which is Kelly? How am I supposed to describe any of these Jimmies?
I don't know. Hold on.
But to be fair, they also, like, all for the most part give good performances, but they all do feel like semi-inconsequential to a degree, where it's like some mean more than others. Some, like, literally have like maybe 2 lines of dialogue and maybe have 5 seconds of screen time.
Sure.
Like, it is like, because there were 2 female Jimmies, I think, but there were 2 female Jimmies, but we only really focus on one You have
Right.
Jimmy Jones, which is played by Mara Bird, who like maybe has 5 lines of dialogue in the movie. Does a good job, but like you could tell pretty early on who the favorite Jimmys were and who was going to play a more important role.
It's Jimmy number one, Jimmy Cannon Fodder,
Yeah,
Jimmy.
yeah, exactly. You have Jimmy Cannon fodder number 1, Jimmy Cannon fodder number 2,
That
main Jimmy.
like here's the they all have good performances, but like the only ones that stand out are obviously obviously Spike, who
Yeah.
was Jimmy Temporary, and Jimmy Ink because of the stupid tattoos. Those are the only ones that really matter. Like they're good performances, but I'm also sitting here like, oh, okay. I
Yeah,
guess
but so transitioning away from like that, let's just talk about that 30-minute, maybe it wasn't even 30-minute, but like, dude, that scene was so like I know we don't do
Oh
top 10
god.
like scenes of the year, but like I'd be shocked if something like no, I don't want to say surpass it. I don't think it'll be number one forever, but like that is like that's a scene, dude. Dr. Kelson giving a phenomenal performance.
Oh yeah,
Like having
Ralph.
the music background, having it be like he drugs them so that they all start seeing things. Like again, he's using his smarts to the best of his ability. And when he's giving the commandments, again, you can feel the palpable fear. You can see it and feel it without him ever saying, I'm scared. But you already know he's scared because when he's talking with Samson about, like, this is the first time I felt fear in nearly 28 years. When Sir Jimmy approaches him and he doesn't know what's going on, and you can tell the moment becomes fearful when he realizes that this guy is crazy
Right.
and he
Right.
does everything he can. Like it
It's yes.
literally, like, no exaggeration, I was sitting there with my jaw open for most of that sequence. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that well, and more so like I do love that sequence, but like this is the thing that I wanted to talk about too was that scene specifically because you already brought it up between uh Jack O'Connell and
yeah,
Dr.
the
Kelton.
conversation, yeah.
Like that is just a phenomenal scene. And it's a battle of wits between an atheist and
A
a Satanist.
Satanist.
And it's so darn good. Like I shouldn't say that as a Christian whatnot, but it's so darn appealing to watch. It's so much fun. Like it's written so well, and then it sets up that like you said, almost 20-minute long sequence at the end where he's doing the best he can to be old Nick or Satan. Just because he's trying to survive, that's basically all it is. Like he does this and he's fine, it's whatever. But it's an artsy, very impressive, very well thought through, put together. Yeah, that's what I will say about this film. The cinematography in this film was really well done, and it's used expertly here in this in
Yeah.
this
Oh
in this
yeah.
sequence specifically.
Like, I didn't love the cinematography in the first movie. Like, there were some really good moments, and I love the scenic shots, but like a lot of it felt very artsy. Again, I already talked about how
Fine.
horrible the kills were. They felt kind of editing. Brandon here. So from this point forward, my audio in the recording is a little messed up. I did what I could in post editing. It sounds a lot better than it did originally, but it still isn't great. We're not gonna go back and re-record those segments, so I do apologize. It should be pretty decipherable, if not far from the best audio experience. But with that being said, I leave you to let us continue. The kills in that movie felt like something I'd expect out of a comedic zombie movie where they like slow down time and show the brain blowing out and then speed back up time. Like that felt like something you'd get out of like a Shaun of the Dead, not a gritty, realistic 28 years later. And
Yeah,
so having that kind of be like, I don't want to say solved, but not having that, and not only not having that, but genuinely having like really good cinematography, like it was really impressive. I love where like you don't see him, you do see him, and
mm,
how they're like moving around, and then they'd give like an aerial shot of the thing, like
sure, sure. Yeah, I think that. it's just such an artsy sequence, and it's handled so well, and it's crafted so well, and it's put together very well. It's hard not to enjoy that scene.
Yeah.
Um, but again, that whole sequence is just like such a it's the thing that we've been building with these characters for a while, basically. Jack O'Connell's character, we've been building with him. Kelson, basically, obviously it's not in this sequence, but it's later that he realizes, like, oh, Samson, whatever. And Samson coming back, Spike being not redeemed, but being free. Like, this is something we had been building to. So this is like,
Yeah.
it's like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, for example, where the whole movie's like a big setup piece. And then this is like the last few minutes of it. But it's
Yeah.
like the big, like,
It's
explosive
the
finale
big
that
bombastic finale that comes together. Yeah.
it combines everything. Um, and so I just appreciate it. I appreciated the sequence. I appreciated what really honestly just what these set of characters. This is just me like not wrapping it up. I guess we can talk more about it, but like just saying about it as a whole. I appreciate what these characters did for this story because they were
Yeah.
very important and very
Well,
integral.
and to build off of that, one thing that I really liked is the movie answers, and again, maybe these are things that like, oh, like we set this up because you know this from the earlier movies, but like most of the questions that I had that were answered weren't questions that I was thinking would have been answered in those. Like, for instance, how did Dr. Kelson get so much morphine? We get that explanation here, but
Right,
we also understand that he is running out. And I think that is kind of like a death tell on like something's gonna happen. He's been surviving off of this morphine. He's scoured everything within the 75-mile radius. Like, that's how he's been able to survive this long. We also get a note where it's like, he might not have necessarily been a doomsday prepper. Like, that's a little unclear to me. Like, if it's clearly his bunker or he found the bunker and that's how he survives. But like, I do like that, like, oh, how has he survived so long? We only see this hole. He has a doomsday bunker with a bunch of stuff in it, and he's clearly well scouted. And I love how it's like none of that felt like exposition dumps. It all felt like I don't know, it just felt like a lot of times in movies, you can have this problem where characters just feel like they are thrown into the world for this movie. Like,
right,
clearly, they should be a person. They should be a human being that's lived experiences outside of this movie and will either continue to live on after this movie or will die and not
sure,
live on. A lot of movies run into the problem where they don't do that. Their characters feel like they pop into this movie, exist in this movie, and move on. That doesn't feel like the case, especially with Dr. Kelson, where it's like he also talks about on like when he's having that conversation that you mentioned with Sir Jimmy about like you were a little bit older when this happened. Like, you
right,
actually lived a life before the apocalypse. How much do you remember? Like, what was life like? And in being
right,
like, brother, it's been 28 years.
right.
Like, I'm not even 28 years old and I struggle to remember things from 10 years ago. So him having that vulnerable moment and being like, I remember flashes. We obviously see the pictures of him and his wife setting up a little bit of backstory that like we don't need to be explored because you can feel the reasons and motivations behind his actions, like
Yes.
all of that stuff. Again, like he feels like a human being and not just a character that exists in a movie.
Well, and that's what these past two films have done so well is that everybody's motivation is clear, and I like what you said about it. The characters feel human. Like, I'm not saying the other films they don't feel human, but this time everybody has a clear motivation. They're in this film for a reason, but also they all feel exactly how they should be feeling in this moment, except the one
Yeah.
chick who hides instead of running. That's different. Um,
Yeah.
but everything feels exactly how it should.
Well, and another thing that like I kind of shocked me, I guess, about the first movie, and obviously it wasn't explored in this movie all that much. And I'm willing to allow you to spoil this for me to see if 28 days or 28
Nope.
weeks.
Nope. I'm not gonna do it. Go watch it. I'm not gonna
No, no,
do
no.
it.
Let me say my piece, and you can see if it's that big of a deal or not. But one thing that is playing in the back of my mind the entire time I'm watching this movie is these are characters that have lived 28 years in a post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
But it's not. The entire rest of the world continues moving, has cell phones, has stockbrokers, everything continues moving. And again, it's not really explored in this movie, but it is explored in the other movie where you have the military soldier that gets washed up and you have that whole sequence where it's like that is always like from the second I realized that in the first movie, all throughout even this movie, with how devastating it is and watching these characters go through all this trauma and live entire full lives in what feels like the world, but isn't the world. And I think that is one reason why I appreciate these movies a lot more is like it is a unique spin on the apocalypse because it's an isolated apocalypse. It
Sure.
is an apocalypse. It is a post-apocalyptic world, but it's clearly very isolated. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, man, this old man just like lived a like full ass life, and you have this kid going through all this trauma.
Right.
While there's just people chatting it up with their girlfriends and trading stocks and like not giving a fuck
Right.
in the rest of the world. And like I don't know if that's other like something that's really explored in the other movies, but like I am curious to see. I guess reason why I'm bringing this up is not only is it like a thought in my head, but like I'm curious to see how much the next movie, if it is especially the last
Oh,
movie in the franchise, plays into this.
It's gonna deal heavily with that. I can already tell you that it's gonna deal heavily with that. But if it was dealt with in the past or not, I don't know. You have to watch the movies to find out.
Screw you.
Look, man, I'm just trying to help. I'm trying to give you.
I know.
Hey, I can tell you this much because you know this much. Cillian Murphy makes it through the end of the first movie of the very first movie.
That doesn't surprise me though. Like I don't know who the little girl is, but
he makes it through the end of the first movie. You know that because he's in this movie.
Yeah, but again, that doesn't surprise me. Like obviously, like movies plot armor is a thing, and I like that's one of the things where it's like with Stranger Things, everyone complained about like why didn't no main characters. It's like, brother, watch literally any other TV show or movie that's ever existed in the entire history of the universe, and plot armor is a thing for every single one of them because it would be a bad story if main characters were just dying left and right. Or I shouldn't say bad story. It'd be a much harder story to write compellingly.
Right.
So like Cillian Murphy's character surviving through the first movie, not a shock to me. I knew he was the main character in the first one. Him surviving, not a big deal, but I am curious to see how much this plays into it. Also, and this is something that I'm very curious about. Who the hell's that little girl? Because here's the thing, and I want you to think about this.
Yeah.
That little girl is a child.
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy's character, he plays 28 days later.
Yeah.
And that movie takes place 28 days after the apocalypse.
Correct.
It's been 28 years. That child, 15, 16 at best.
Right.
That child was not in the first movie. I can tell you that without seeing the first movie. Where did she come from?
Yeah, well, and I'm sure that's something that's also going to be explained. Again, we have a lot of catching up to do with Cillian Murphy's character in this last movie because we know that. Well, assuming he is in this last movie, this last movie could be something
he's going to be. But...
Well, it could be something completely different from anything you've ever seen before. It'd be disappointing, but it could be. But that's something that's going to get explained. He's clearly going to be the main character of this final film. It's going to focus on him, roping it back to the beginning. It's going to show us what he's been up to over the past few years. So we'll get that answered and we'll get that figured out. I'm sure. That's just one of those things. That's more like, hey, you just got to sit and wait. Like,
yeah,
sorry,
that's
but,
fair.
It's kind of where you have to be.
That's fair. I don't know. Like overall, though, kind of like wrapping this up. Unless there's more that you want to touch on specifically with this.
Not really. I'm looking at Nia DaCosta's film record right now because she did the Marvels and the Candyman movie. So not really anything good, unfortunately. Okay. Well,
I mean, this movie was really good.
No, I was about to say this is a good movie.
Yeah.
This is a great
Did
movie.
did did Nia DaCosta direct the first one?
No, that was Alex Garland.
Oh, really? Interesting.
He,
I guess that's probably why the direction felt very different. Like that was my thing. And I didn't realize this, but I guess I kind of pieced it together myself now that I think about it. Is like when I talked about how the first movie felt very artsy and it felt like it had a different director than this movie. I assumed that they were directed by the same person, but knowing that they weren't
so
directed by the same
right.
person definitely like makes so much more sense. And I do hope that like I'm not saying like I hope Nia DaCosta has to direct the third one, but like no offense to whoever directed the first one, like I much preferred Nia DaCosta's direction of this movie than the first
So
movie.
Alex Garland also did Warfare and Civil War, but he created this franchise.
Oh,
Like
really? Okay.
he wrote and directed 28 Days Later.
So are those
He
movies very artsy in the same way that 28 Years Later is, or
kind of, if they feel more similar, I wouldn't say they're necessarily artsier, but they feel more similar.
okay.
And then for 28 Weeks Later, both Garland and whoever just wasn't on the project. What were they doing at the time? Let me look.
Yeah, from
They
what
were
I've heard,
doing
it is a
Sunshine.
hun
They
yeah,
they
from
were
what
doing
I've
something
heard,
called
it's
Sunshine.
very standalone, kind of mediocre.
Yeah,
So
but they were doing something called Sunshine, so they didn't do 28 Weeks Later. So they weren't even involved in the process at all for that film. They came back for 28 Years Later, and then Alex Garland wrote Bone Temple. He didn't direct Bone Temple. So it's
okay.
still his project. It's still his world, technically.
Do we know if he's directing the third one?
Don't
Obviously,
know.
he's probably
They haven't.
writing it, but
They technically haven't even announced anything for that film yet. So
no. Well, so here's what's really funny. Yes, they have, because when I search Bone Temple in the AMC app, or no, not the AMC app, I don't think, into
Fandango.
the movie tracking app that I use,
Sure.
28 years later, 3 pops up. Um,
Okay. All
I'm
right.
gonna actually see 28 years later 3. Is there any information? 20 years later, the final part of the trilogy is officially happening with Sony greenlighting it. Killian Murphy's in talks to return, so that's a little bit of a old, but I I hope it comes out
Relatively soon.
relatively soon. Like I again, mainly because when you have a child actor like Spike play such a pivotal role, unless for whatever reason they do a time skip, which at that point you can't call it 28 years later anymore, you have to call it 32 years later or whatever the
Right.
hell.
Right.
Um I don't know, like my thoughts just keep spinning on like where they can go from here because the only guy who knew how to cure this is dead now. Like, no offense, Samson's not curing the world. It's not
No,
happening.
Samson can put things together though, and maybe the group together can do it. But Kelson was like the only one who could do it on his own, and he's like gone. So bye bye, Kelson.
We also have to
Bye
grapple
bye.
with the fact that it is very specifically mentioned, and again, this is going to be very curious to see how, if at all, it is explored in the third movie. Going back to talking about Samson, there are multiple elements to the infection.
Yeah.
And it is very clearly stated by Dr. Kelson that he's only cured one of them. He
Yeah.
cured the mental part that did give Samson back some semblance of his brain, but he's still genetically and physically altered.
Yes.
So even if we cure the rest of the world, they are still very genetically and physically altered. Maybe there can be a cure for that and we can revert them back to normal. But like we see in the sequence, and it's made very clear, like after his mind is fixed essentially on the train, like Samson's still ripping people to shreds. He still has superhuman strength,
Right.
and you can still see like his body's all messed up and he hasn't died from his injuries like that would typically kill a normal human being.
Right.
So even though Dr. Kelson has solved the mental portion of this, there are still other elements of this that, like, no
Sure.
offense, those fat people that got infected that are crawling on the floor, like,
Look,
we can give you your
all
mind back, but like,
these are all things that will be answered in a sequel when we eventually get the sequel.
yeah.
hopefully next year, but we don't actually know.
Yeah, the most unrealistic part of this franchise, though, is that America didn't come in and just nuke the entire island.
Well, we were really stupid for not doing that. Thanks, America.
It's like, why quarantine them and not just bomb? Like, you already left all the humans there doomed to begin with. You already signed their death warrant. Just bomb it, move on, clean it up.
Bomb it, sweep it under the rug. That, just let it go. Whatever.
Yep. But that has been our thoughts on 28 Years Later, Bone Temple. Next week.
Boned. We're not getting boned next weekend.
Well, we don't know what we're doing next weekend, because the only new movie coming out in theaters that we really can see, and like, dude, I've been scrubbing. Like, again, January is a horrible month for movies, so I'm gonna continue digging. But right now on the schedule is Return to Silent Hill. There is a good chance that maybe we do talk about the movie, but there has been some discussions to talk about some, maybe two, maybe just one movies that came out in 2025 that we unfortunately didn't get to talk about on the podcast. There's one that Carson's already seen that we've talked about. Maybe I have proposed another one. Hamnet's another one that I know I really wanted to see. Like, maybe looking down the Oscars list and seeing before the Oscars come out what movies we didn't see that we want to go back and watch. Yeah. We don't really know because, like, one, neither of us are Silent Hill fans. We don't really have a connection to the franchise. The first movie that was made by this director came out in 2007. It was pretty bad. We don't really have faith that this one's going to be any better.
Yeah, don't really have faith it's going to do much better, unfortunately.
So you will find out next week what the next week's episode is about when we find out, probably, basically when we talk about it, because
right.
It's a tough month, and February doesn't get much better, honestly. Actually, that's a lie. Send Help is coming out, the Sam Raimi horror movie, the week afterwards.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited for that. We also have, and I know you don't care about this at all, but I kind of am. We have Markiplier's movie, The Iron Lung. It's a horror movie that broke the record for the most blood in any production ever. Right. Even more than the Terrifier series. So I'm gonna watch that, and maybe I'll force Carson to watch that, and we can review it on the podcast as well. But that'll be in weeks to come. Again, January and even February is kind of tough. It is. Once we get into like the March period, I think it starts to pick up. Obviously, we have what will be the best movie of the year, Goat, coming out. Carson's most anticipated movie of the year.
All right. Anyway,
you have anything you want to say to send us off?
I got boned this weekend. I'll see you next week when I'm not getting boned. There you go.
Hey, who knows? Maybe we will watch Silent Hill, and Silent Hill will bone us brain dead, and we'll hate it, or we'll love it. I'm probably gonna watch it anyway. I already have a ticket for it, so we'll see. But that has been another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast on the internet where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. You can find us on all podcast hosting platforms: Spotify, Apple, YouTube, literally any place you can find a podcast, you can find us. We're also on all social media platforms: Instagram, TikTok. The only one I don't think we're on is Snapchat, but we're on all the ones that matter. So you can find us there, posting shorts, whatever. Drop us a like, drop us a follow. Let us know your thoughts on this movie in the comments section. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? We enjoyed it. We'll see if other people enjoy it. But with that being said, that has been another episode. So as always, stay nerdy.